Once you do begin work on a case, you should be sensitive to your total fees. Invariably, either the attorney or the client will want an estimate from you of fees. You should expect to prepare initial and ongoing estimates. Initial estimates will sometimes determine whether the attorney hires you or not. Ongoing estimates can put real constraints on your efforts. You should provide a range of dollars for any estimates. The client may hope for the lower number, but receiving an invoice that remains below your upper number will at least not shock them. Any bill that exceeds the estimate's top number will require that you obtain approval for further work, since it will have gone beyond their initial expectations. If your investigation suggests that additional tests or research should be performed, you have to convey that to the attorney and client. Generally, they have no choice but to go along with your suggestion. Sometimes, however, your attorney will say no to a request for extra work. At these times, you will probably have to do without. But remember that each of your opinions has to have a solid basis. If the extra work eliminated prevents you from legitimately expressing a final opinion, you should inform your attorney and you should avoid expressing such an opinion. A key tactic then, concerning this, you should receive extra approval from the attorney and client for any necessary extra work on your part that exceeds earlier estimates. Otherwise, you risk non-payment and possibly an extra client. As you can see from looking at my sample retainer contract in the appendix, I require both an advance retainer and a replenishment of all or part of the retainer from time to time. The amount of replenishment depends on what additional work the attorney requires of me. Some experts will require that the attorney or client maintain a minimum retainer. To do so, you should bill to restore that minimum dollar amount whenever the balance in the prepaid account for the client falls below a specific level. Ask for new advance payments whenever it becomes apparent that additional work will deplete the existing balance in the client's account. Generally, your client will not have to replenish the retainer if the additional work only requires 1 to several hours. But you should request advance payment at the following times. If a sudden surge occurs in discovery materials for your review, ask for an advance. If your attorney requests that you travel for conferences and meetings, bump up your advance to cover those travel costs. If any investigations require you to travel to job sites or company offices for observations, meetings, and any other explorations, make an adjustment to the retainer to ensure you're covered. If your deposition has been scheduled, for depositions, you will have to reserve a variable number of days in your schedule for the deposition, for a pre-deposition conference, and possibly for travel time as well. Make sure you cover all those things with an advance and a retainer bump. If a trial has been scheduled, you have the same considerations of blocking time for possible travel, meetings, and testimony. You should estimate airfare, hotel, car, food expenses as well, and include all of those in a requested advance payment. If you ask for advance payments, you should also think to ask for them well in advance, if possible. Larger companies often have processing delays for invoices and payment requests. You do not want those delays to stand in the way of your work. Do not wait until the last minute to ask for your advance payments. You should be a business person, organized enough to estimate the size of advance payments. You can base those payments on discussions with the attorney about the progress of the case and what work you will probably have to perform. The most important advance payment is the one that precedes a trial. You must be firm in asking for advance payment for your expected billings before traveling to testify at a trial. Clients by that point have already spent a large sum of money when the trial begins. If the client loses in the trial, they either may not be able to pay you or they may choose not to pay you. But they do need your testimony at the trial. So you will have to put pressure on them to pay beforehand and not on you afterwards to try to collect your money. So a key tactic then is that receiving payment for your trial testimony time in advance permits you to respond no to the cross-examination question of whether the client owes you any money. If the client has already paid you, you can honestly point out that the verdict in the case will have no influence on your testimony.